Hi everybody, welcome to today's Vehicle Visionary. Today we're going to look at the BMW 330i. In the interest of fair reporting, this is a 2019 model. But there's not a lot of differences between 2019 and 2022. The starting price is a little over $41,000. I believe it's $41,450 before adding options. And the only differences between 2019 and 2022 is that there are some changes to available features and how all of that is packaged. But the one big change that I think is a positive move in the right direction is the fact that unlike in 2019, the digital dashboard that this model does have was an option. Now it's a standard feature on all models. So let's take a look at exactly what we have here as far as the overall design. I have to say, I really like these turn signals right here. That's right, we got a rare BMW with turn signals. The owner knows how to use them, believe it or not. But I like the headlight design, and can't say anything sarcastic there, right? But you got to throw it in. But the overall design here, the fact that it's not just flat all the way across right there, I like what BMW has done here with just the way it designs. Comes up here, comes back down, and just kind of flows in a different direction than what you might see otherwise. And while you've got some other features here with flat black, just kind of plastic right there, it's not too much, although it would be kind of nice to see maybe kind of a front spoiler, maybe even a front splitter right here. Something that's interesting, of course, you're going to have that iconic BMW logo right there, but the grille itself is iconic. It's been around since 1928, but you didn't know that. So a very unique look. Something that caught my attention very quickly here about this model. The hood design, and I hope it shows up on video as well as it does in person, but I like the fact that while you have a very large area right here, it still isn't completely flat. It has some nice contour to it, gives it a nice aerodynamic, kind of a menacing look, if you will. But I really like what BMW has done right here with the rise on the hood and the direction that it goes overall. You might not notice these kind of things just in passing. You might say, man, that car looks really good, but you may not realize why it looks good until you really start studying out those lines. And while the hood looks really nice, really racy, had that menacing look to it of sorts on the front end, let's talk a little bit about what you'll find when you open the hood. So here under the hood is the 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder. 255 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque. May not sound like a lot, but yet this model will launch from 0 to 60 in 5.4 seconds. And something that I always like to point out here, I'll make it a little bit easier on carry and come over to this side, something we didn't talk about earlier. You do have these air curtains right here that allow air to pass through the fender right here and out the other side. Hopefully you got a good view of that. The advantage to that, not only does it look cool, and it's cool to talk about and explain to people who may not know that it's there or why it's there, that cuts down on drag, and what that does is improve gas mileage. What exactly is that? 26 miles per gallon city, 36 out on the highway, according to BMW. This whole combination here is mated to an 8-speed automatic transmission that's, interestingly enough, something I can't say of every car I've featured in the past here on the Vehicle Visionary YouTube channel, but you can actually use the shifter paddles in every single driving mode. That's not always the case. And something here that I normally am not a fan of, all the plastic on top of the engine, but I really kind of like the design that BMW has here. It's not too much. It's really not an overload, but for whatever reason, I just feel like that looks better than what I've seen on a lot of other vehicles, so kudos to BMW. Okay, let's talk about a couple of options you have here. First of all, I want to show the remote. Not anything out of the ordinary or unusual, but you not only have the remote that works as a proximity key, you also have this card. But the interesting thing about this, of course, this is the side you'll want to use, and I'll show you more of that in just a second or a minute. We'll give it a little time, but let's talk about something you need to know here. When it comes to using the remote or the card, I'm going to go ahead and hit the button here so we can see the power folding side view mirrors. Of course, that turn signal indicator built in. It can be kind of hard to see on this bright sunny day here in Northwest Louisiana. Something important to note here. Of course, you have to program the card and the remote to the car. for a lot of this to work, you also have to program, go in, you can turn this option off of the power folding side view mirrors working in case yours don't work, maybe. In case you want to know about that. That option's probably on your 330i, but you have to go in and actually turn it on or turn it off, whichever the case may be. But if you want this card to work, you cannot use the remote. So here's the thing, you have to choose one or the other. So what I'm going to do to show you how the card works, because watch, nothing's going to happen right now. This is what you would do to hold it right here. Nothing's happening. Hang on just a second. I'm going to put this down and show you how it works. Okay, so I don't have the remote anymore. So all I'm going to do, everything's locked right now, is just hold this right here. And notice that all I did was hold this side, make sure it's this side, not the side that says BMW. You've got to have this side because it's really this area right here that it's focusing on. But you just kind of hold it there, just like this, just so you can see how easily that works. And again, you have to program these things, so if yours isn't working, it's not because nothing is necessarily wrong or something's necessarily wrong. It's just that you need to go into the infotainment system and just take care of a couple of little things, and you're ready to go. So tell me what you think. You've got the dual chrome exhaust tips on here. Do you think those should be larger? I'm always curious to get your feedback as to what you have to say. And a quick look at the, of course, that 330i logo right there. And when you look here at the tail lights, I don't know what it is about that, but I just like the overall design and angle of these tail lights. That's very nice. And something you might not expect to find here. Let's see if I can make this work since I don't do this every single day. There we go. You've got the hands-free system right here for your rear trunk area. And how about cargo space? 17 cubic feet, that's not too terribly bad. Now, if you want to maximize that, you're going to lower the rear seats. But here's the thing, I'll have Kerry show you right here. He's going to pull on that lever right there. There's two of them. If you want to lower these rear seats, which I'm going to lower one side because the other side won't go down all the way because, well, I'll just show you because the driver's seat is too far back. But that's how you're going to do that. I just saved you some time if you're going to buy one of these 330i's. That way you're not looking on the seats themselves because those releases are right there inside the trunk itself. Okay, let's talk a little bit about what you'll find here as far as the armrest goes. I'm going to hit this button right here, that fold down armrest. You've got the kind of concealed away cup holders, just so you know what's there. And then of course, what about headspace back here? At 5'10", you can kind of see, hopefully, I do have a little bit of space above my head. The passenger seat is fairly far forward, but just so you can kind of see in a real world situation how that works. You're going to have, well, not really map pockets. I would call that more of a map net on the back of the seats. Your dual air conditioning vents, so your rear seat passengers will stay comfortable. USB ports and a 12-volt power outlet as well. If you have 3 people riding back here, which there are 3 seat belts back here, just so we don't get hit by the correction Nazis who are usually not right. Down in the comments section, well, you do have 3 belt buckles back here. But here's something interesting. 3 passengers back here, but only 2 USB ports. You can get the adapter for that 12-volt power outlet, and there's your 3rd USB port. Okay, real quick, I do want to have Kerry show you the sunroof here. Now, it's not a panoramic sunroof, but it's also not conventional size. It's a little bit larger. I like that. So, just to show you what's there, of course, you can open that if you want to. It does slide open. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to use the card to actually start the car. Here, where the phone charging pad, the wireless charging pad is, and then I'm just going to hit the button right here and fire things up. And I'm going to close this just so you can see a little bit better in here. We'll get rid of some of the bright light. We'll have Kerry hop on inside here, and we'll get started with our tour of the interior, which, by the way, it's pretty simple here. I like the way everything works. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, we have a digital dashboard on this model for 2022. No matter what version of the 330i you get, what the options are, that comes standard. It wasn't the case in 2019, which is what this model is. So a good comfortable steering wheel, of course, leather wrapped. You've got your steering wheel mounted controls. I do like the size of the shifter paddles. They might stand to be a little bit bigger, but The one thing I love to see, which is kind of rare, is when the shifter paddles are not mounted to the steering wheel itself, they're actually mounted to the steering column. In my opinion, that just makes things a lot easier. And of course, as we work our way over here to the infotainment screen, this is a touch screen. So that's one thing. If you like touch screens and you don't mind getting fingerprints on there, well, there you go. There is your touch screen. Everything very easy to use. And that's not the only way you can do it, of course. We'll just go through a couple of features here. Let's see if we can get back out here real quick, just to show you what's here. Of course, you can see your navigation right there. That's easy. And then, of course, your vehicle settings. There are a lot of things here. This is where you're going to come to pair everything and get everything set up. We're not going to show how to do that in this video, just because I don't want to spend a lot of time on too much, but just so you can kind of get a general idea. Of course, you've got the owner's manual right here. Operating tips. Now, that is something that could be very useful to a lot of people. Now, unfortunately, it looks like we're not going to be able to show anything right now, but just so you can know what's here, I don't want to go through too terribly much. Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, so you can pair your smartphone, and that's going to allow, of course, basically you'll turn the infotainment screen into, well, your phone in essence. Very simple to use though. This is what I would call the hunt and peck method, where you could just kind of hunt and peck your way through everything and figure it out. And moving down here, if you want to know about your safety features, this button right here is what you push. I just pushed that. And this is where you can go in and configure things. You can go into whatever it is you want to do individual, configure individual right here. And this allows you to go in and turn on or off and even change the sensitivity with everything, as you can see right here, depending on what it is you want to change. And everything's going to work the same way there. Again, I don't probably need to go into everything, but that is a nice, convenient feature. Most of the time, in most vehicles, you have to go into the screen and individually click on everything or tap on everything. I like the fact that BMW has the button right here where you can just go in and just hit that and boom, there you are, right where you need to be. Very easy, simple to access. And of course, you have your heated seats, something that I don't really want at the moment. A couple of hours ago, that would have been helpful. The controls for your air conditioner and everything. And one thing I've learned in my time of doing these videos, people like to have a knob to control the functionality of the radio as far as volume, turning that on and off, all that kind of stuff. Obviously, you have wireless charging for your phone here, because that's where we needed to place the card. Very easy, very convenient. There's your cup holders. You even have a 12-volt power outlet right there. Got a little piece that goes inside there. It even tells you what it is, just so you know, in case you're wondering, what is that? And right here, you have also, if you don't want to get fingerprints on the infotainment screen, you can go in here and actually use the dial right here and the different buttons, your different selections there, to use the infotainment screen and do all that kind of stuff, just depending on what your situation is. Maybe you came from a 2019 Mercedes-Benz that did not have a touch screen until the MBUX system came out, and well, there you go. Of course, the shifter here, pretty easy to figure out. All you're going to do, there's a button on the left-hand side. Let's see, how about we do it this way, just so we can kind of show how that works. Very simple. Go back into park. Well, there you go. Now, one thing I would like to do here, let's bring up the backup camera so you can see what that looks like, what the clarity is on there. You've got your trajectory lines and all that good stuff. A good clear image, so I definitely can't complain about that. I think that's going to work well, even from 2019. Kind of hard to say that was 3 years ago, but it was. So obviously everything here, easy to use. Power parking brake right there. Everything's easily figured out because you've got your driving modes here. Let's take a look at what we have there. Of course, Sport, you've got Comfort, and of course, you've got Eco Pro. I don't know that I would drive my BMW in Eco Pro, but it is there for you people out there who want to. I almost said sissies, but maybe I shouldn't put it that way. And I know it's kind of dark in here. I tell you what, let's do this just so it's maybe a little bit easier to see into that black console, this black interior. There's some space in there, maybe not as much as you might get in some larger vehicles, but enough to get the job done. A little more connectivity here, as you can see. But you know, there's one thing left to do here that we haven't done yet, and that just to get out on the road for a test drive. Let's see how the 330i handles. Okay, we're cruising on the road here and there's nobody behind me, so I'm gonna slow down a little bit because this 330i is surprisingly quick. Didn't deal with any turbo lag there or anything like that. I mean, this thing's fast. You wouldn't think 255 horsepower would be as much fun as it is, but I'm gonna tell you what, when we took off out of the area where we were filming, I kind of stepped on it a little bit. Didn't mean to spin the back tires, but I did spin the back tires, or one tire probably, but it spun a little bit. That was kind of a surprise. So obviously you don't need a lot of horsepower to have a fun car. Of course, some of you probably know that already, but there's some of you who may not. But I have to say, this is a little bit of a surprise to me. It's the first time we've done a 330i, so I don't have any experience with it. But even just easing into the gas, it's faster than I thought. Now, one thing I did notice earlier, at least Kerry told me when he drove over to our filming location, is that if you put this one in eco mode, it turns into a snail. And I just don't feel like driving a snail today, so I'm gonna have a little fun here. This thing is just so fun to drive. Not the first BMW that I've done. We did the M4 Heritage Edition a couple of years ago, I think it was. I've been doing this long enough to where I can't keep up with how many years I've been when I did a video. 2 years ago, I think. But whatever the case is, that's what it was. So this one isn't quite as much fun to drive, but still a really nice surprise. Great handling. We're just kind of cruising on through here. Not going too terribly fast, but I'll tell you what, I'm impressed. Ride quality is good. It's not going to be Cadillac smooth or anything like that, but it's still not bad. A pretty comfortable ride. Seating itself is comfortable. All right, so we're going to cruise on through the corner here. We had to go around a vehicle, the mail truck on the side of the road. So getting through that corner at a pretty reasonable speed, wow. I'm amazed. I didn't really know what to expect as far as the handling goes and the acceleration, but I must say it's exceeded what expectation I probably would have had if I'd really sat back and thought about it. I had to say I didn't really expect what we've experienced here. The horsepower numbers are not that impressive, 255 in this day and age at least, but that doesn't mean that you can't have a car that you can have a good time with. Maybe if you own a 330i or plan to buy one, you might think to yourself, am I going to be happy with if I need to get out and just go drive spiritedly because I'm having a stressed out day or something like that? This car will do it for you. So overall, I must say, I give high marks here. BMW has done a great job at tuning the suspension and the chassis. The steering is great. I don't know what else to say. Definitely a lot of fun. Depending on what your situation is, well, this would be a great car for a daily driver, I think, if I was in the market for one. One more little pull here. Let's come to a complete stop so nobody says anything in the comments about a rolling stop at the stop sign. I did get that one time. Put that little 4-cylinder to work. It's a fun car to drive. So for 2022, if you were planning to buy a brand new 330i, essentially this is what you would get. Of course, obviously there's a lot of additional options that maybe this model doesn't have that you would want, or maybe less, just depends on what it is. Gotta say a special thanks to Keandra for loaning me this model for the day, or us I should say, because Kerry also helped out on the camera. I always appreciate that. And of course, all of you for being kind enough to take the time to watch and give me the opportunity to give you a vision for your next vehicle. If you enjoyed this video, check out this area of the screen right over here, somewhere over here. There's a couple more videos you can click on, and I'll see you there.